Welcome to Sikbaggers YouTube channel. I'm Steve. Today I'm going to be showing you how to remove the fuel tank on a Softail. Now, this information can be converted over to several different Softails. The only thing that may be different on your model, whether it be a newer Softail or an older Softail, could be the fuel line size, could just be the placements of the bolts that hold the actual tank on, and the electrical connectors could be a little bit different. They could be in different positions. And if you're not just watching the video because this is part of the Softail build, you're probably watching this video because your tank has a cross underline right here underneath the tank that goes from one side of the tank to the other. And then you got out to your tank and you realized how easy it was to take off, and then you realized you had this line that runs underneath the frame. So you've got your tank that sits up on top of the frame, and then you've got a fuel line that runs from one side of the tank to the other under the frame. So when you go to pull the tank off, the hose is caught under the frame. It's very easy to get this off, and there's about 150 different ways to do this. Now, if you have a big section of new hose and you just want to simply cut this off, it makes this a lot easier. As long as you can clamp both sides and you have new hose to replace it, this can go a lot easier and not lose any fuel. All you have to do is pick up one of these little nylon barbs, and I'll show you that here in just a second. So this is our fuel line going from the left to the right side of the tank. You would clamp it here and you would clamp it here, and then you would cut it here. The clamp and the clamp is going to stop the fuel from coming out of the tank. When you cut it here, you would stick the female to female nylon barb on this end and a new section of hose on that end. Put this in a gas tank, take the clamp off, drain that side, and do the same thing on the other side until the tank is empty. Once the tank is empty and removed, you put it back on, you cut you a new section of hose, and you simply replace what you have. So before anyone even thinks about jumping in the comment section down below and saying there's an easier way to do that, you can just drain it from the petcock valve. This is fuel injected. There is no petcock valve. Now, that being said, if you do have a petcock valve, go ahead and turn the fuel off, pull the hose off, put your new hose on, run it down to your gas tank, simply open it back up and drain your tank. But that's not what we're working with. We're working with a simple close off valve here, so we have to drain the tank. So I've moved the camera over here so you can see the culprit that we're talking about. This cross underline right here goes underneath your frame. Has a Harley-Davidson pinch clamp, which we're going to be replacing with just a standard radiator clamp for right now, because we're actually going to be pulling this tank off several times throughout this build, and it just makes it a lot easier to just go ahead and replace it with the kind of a radiator hose style clamp. So the service manual goes on and tells us that we need to go ahead and drain the tank from here and all this before we start taking any bolts out of the tank. I like to go ahead and remove the rear bolt in the back here, and you have to watch the top up here to make sure that your dash isn't hitting your handlebars, but you can actually push the back of that tank up because your hose is in the front and your tank is declined like this. So we've got some fuel back here that's not going to be getting up to this line. Now, the next thing we want to do is release our fuel line. We can't lift the tank with our fuel line connected right here. This is just a shut-off valve. Simply push up on this, pull down on the hose, and it releases. So there's all kinds of stuff on the internet and YouTube about purging the system on this before you release this. And you can do that if you want to. We never do. I'm just going to be honest with you. You simply push up on this, pull out on it. You're going to lose a little fuel, but if you keep a rag under it, you're fine. Remember, this is fuel that you're dealing with, so make sure you have something over your eyes in case it does spray out. But I'll show you here in just a second. It doesn't just go blowing out of the bike. Some Softail models, the electrical plug is up here underneath the tank, so you have to tilt this up, reach in, find it, unplug it. Some of them are underneath the dash, but basically you just want to unplug the fuel system. You want to go ahead and start the bike, let it run until it stalls, operate the starter for 3 seconds, and that just vacates any fuel that may be in the line for when you disconnect this. Or you can just simply push up on this chrome piece, pull down on the line with the rag underneath it. It's going to catch the fuel. What that does, as soon as you pull that line, it closes that valve, and no more fuel can come out of that hole. So it's not just going to come pouring out of here when you unplug this. So what we're going to do is take our towel and put it up underneath here. What I'm going to do is push up on this chrome. I'm going to hold this in so it doesn't come out. But this chrome piece right here just pushes up. It's just a sleeve. You're going to push up and you're going to pull down. Just like that. And that little bit of fuel right there that came out on that towel is what you would save by going through all of that purging the system. Just remember, safety first. Put your towel up under there so it's not going to go spraying out. Obviously, don't be firing up a cigarette when you're doing this, but just simply push up on the sleeve, pull it down, catch the little bit of fuel that comes out, wipe it off, and you're disconnected. Now I am going to go ahead and take my dash off. It's a simple acorn nut right here. And then this is simply going to release and lift up. Just be very careful because there are wires underneath here that are connected. Now to get this completely removed from the tank, you're going to have a clip here, and then you've got 4 bolts to take this lighting piece out. This lighting piece is hardwired into the harness, so there's no quick disconnect for that. Up here, it's actually in the harness underneath the tank. So we're going to disconnect the rear one. And then up here, I kind of have to use a flathead screwdriver to get in there because my hands are too big. But I'm going to pop one side. I'll pop the other, just like that. Now we're still connected because of these 4 bolts. Now these are 1/4 inch bolts, so we're just going to remove these. Now we can pull this light away from this. Then we just have a little wire harness Christmas tree clip here that just pulls off. So now we're on the other side of the bike. We're going to pinch off the hose on this side so we can drain this side of the tank. This is just a hose pinch off clamp. You can get these on Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description down below. You can pick these up just about anywhere, but I will link them to Amazon. You can use the scissor style that goes on there. It's like a plastic scissors that scissors it, or you can just use a pair of vice grips like we used to do it all the time. But do it with a pair of vice grips, I'm going to get yelled at on YouTube by everybody telling me that I'm damaging the hose. So we've got the pinch off lines and we're going to install them. This simply goes over the hose. You're going to turn this. It's going to go up on here, so your hose will be through here. You're going to tighten this down, and as this goes down, it pinches the line off so we don't lose any fuel. Just going to slide that around the hose. It's easier for me to take this apart to do it. There's not a lot of room in there to work. This was a scissor style, would come in really handy, but unfortunately I don't have those. So once you have it on there, get your clamp pushed up to the hose. Now this side of the tank is clamped off, and we're going to move to the other side. Now over here you see the pinch style fastener that we were talking about earlier. You can just take a flathead screwdriver and put it in the side and start working this off. Now just by putting it in and twisting, you have to graduate to a little bit bigger screwdriver. Now we have that loose. These are a one-time use only, so once you pull this off, it's done. Now from here, we're going to stick some towels all up under this because we are going to lose a little fuel. I did get that loose and I can feel the fuel already starting to come out, so we know that it's loose. And because we're doing this by ourselves and I can't guarantee that this is going to stay in that gas can, I have plugged this side off with a screw. So now all I have to do is worry about this end. I'm going to pull this side off. I'm going to jam this on. Now that's going to start draining this side of the tank. Right now, I'm leaving the fuel cap on so it creates some kind of a suction that just doesn't start blowing out of there. And this is what I was talking about earlier. If you want to clamp this side and clamp that side and cut it in the middle, you're not going to lose any gas. You got both sides clamped off. Then you take this little female to female barb. You're going to put that in here on your new hose, your drain hose, and then you're going to put that one in the other cut-off side and drain it out. But at the end of the day, you've cut your hose in half, so you have to make sure that you have new hose to replace it with. So that hose popped off a lot easier than most of them do. This bike isn't that old, kind of surprised me a little bit, so I lost a little bit more fuel than I wanted to, but that's just how it goes. You pop the line off, you put the new line on. Until you get that new line on, you are losing fuel. So we're gonna take our other end, we're gonna put it over the fuel tank. We're gonna take our bolt out and let that drain. And while that's draining, we'll go ahead and clean up our mess. Looks like my towel caught most of all of the fuel. And then from there, you can take the fuel cap off, open it up, let it get some air, and it'll drain even faster. And while that's draining too, like I said in the beginning of the video, there's a couple of 100 different ways of doing this, and they actually make these little barb connectors like this that actually have a T and a shut-off valve. So if that's something that maybe you want to purchase, if you plan on taking your tank off quite a bit, that may be a good investment. I'm gonna push, now from here I'm gonna reach through and I'm gonna push my bolt out in the front. We're gonna go ahead and remove that. I'm gonna move to the back of the tank. I'm gonna slide this back slightly. Let's see how much more fuel we get out of there. So we got this side drained, and we've taken our 5/16 to 5/16 flange. We put it in the line. Now all we have to do, we're gonna tuck our towels up under here. We're gonna pop this one off. Like that. We're gonna hook it to the other side. We're gonna put it back in the tank, and we'll go to the other side and release the clamp. Now I'm gonna leave the clamp on it. All I'm doing is opening it up so it will drain. Now with this side, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna lift it up. Get the last bit of that gas out. So I've propped the tank up with a piece of wood. We're gonna get the camera in here. There's one more pain in the butt thing we need to do. This wire right here goes over and behind this clip and comes back here. You can just simply pull that down. See, I pulled that down, and we're gonna disconnect that. We're just gonna push in on that back tab and pull that apart. That disconnects the wire from the tank. Now the only thing we have left to do is the continuous vent lines. Right here on top, it was underneath your dash. We have to get underneath that, pry that off. I just use a little flathead screwdriver to kind of help me pull that up so I'm not pulling up on the hose. That's actually connected to the neck, so we want to move that out of the way. And now our tank finally, 23,000 hours later, the tank is free to take off the bike. We're going to disconnect our drain hose. That is loose, so when we pull up on the tank, it'll just come out on the other side. And that, my friends, is how you take a fuel tank off of a Softail that has a cross under fuel line. However, like I said, it's really not that bad. The biggest mess that you're gonna have is that little bit of fuel that you lose. So there's obviously reasons why I spent all of this time to remove this fuel tank. One, A, to show you how to do it, and B, there's some more videos coming up that we're gonna be dealing with some stuff that we needed the fuel tank off. And if you have other ways that you have done this, leave it in the comment section down below. Let us know about it. That's what we're here for. We're all here to help each other. I know a lot of my subscribers read other subscribers' comments, and that's what it's all about. It's a big community. We all work together. We find the easiest way to get from A to B, and we share it with each other. So, but if you have any questions on this whatsoever, leave it in the comment section down below. The tools that I use, there wasn't a whole lot of tools that we used today, but as always, at the top of the description, I'll put all the tools in there that I actually use today. They'll all lead you over to Amazon. And if you click those links down below and it takes you over to Amazon and you actually buy something, I get a small little dinky kickback from that. And it's a great way for you to support our channel, and it doesn't cost you a dime. I'm gonna get out of here and get back to work. I hope to see you in the next video. But until then, as always, be safe, keep your knees in the breeze. Thanks for checking out the video. Don't forget to hit that like and that subscribe popping up over here. And don't forget to check out the rest of the channel, because we have a ton of bagger related and Softail videos on our channel. And to get you started, maybe you can check out this one or this one. I'm not really gonna say anything else. You can just click one of those and take you over to another video.